Hello and welcome to my new video. For a long time I'm thinking to upgrade my Darkroom, and today probably is the day. I'm not really using this card system anymore because everything is staying in one room, and by the good chance I get the hands on good shelves from IKEA. So let's start to dry fit everything in the place and see if it fits. Good point about the roller carts, you can remove everything really quickly, but in the same time you don't really have a space. I was searching for a long time for the proper solution, but I still don't really know what exactly I want here, so I just decided to move on with something and from there just evolve and adjust. As you can see, in this small spot I can fit my wet station, dry station, and I also have a space for the small intermediate roller cart for some small stuff. What I really like about this table, now I have a space in front of my development tank and in front of my Yoba system. So it means I can put a lot of stuff which is handy while I'm developing, for example the bottle for waste and the bottle with the water, and additionally I have a space to put everything close by to my printing station. And because now I also have a 3D printer, I want to put it in kind of the same spot and integrate it inside, and because it's also dry process I will put it in the dry process section, so on the right side. And this shelf's removable and I can put the shelf on the bottom side, and I already measure it and I think my 3D printer will fit on this shelf. It's not optimal because it's called shelf, but I like the idea because it's closer to the floor and the 3D printer is quite heavy. And before I assemble everything, I will clean up the surfaces and clean up everything and make everything looks fresh and clean. For 3D printer, I cannot fit it in front direction because it's too big in access and I don't want to reassemble it and assemble it back. So I will remove the top surface, and from the top surface I will lower it down and try to fit everything. And because this printer have a surface of printing 300 by 300 millimeters, it's quite large and it doesn't really fit in this square box. And as you can see, it's a close margin to the rolling spool, but I think I can manage it to fit it inside. It's really tight, but it doesn't really matter if it still spins. I can process it and it's fine, and I can exchange it, and I don't think it will create any problems in future. Later I actually find out that my printer doesn't fit properly and I need to rotate it 45 degrees. But about this we probably will discuss in future videos. So far 3D printer is crazy good toy and I think it's spending my time in the proper direction, and now I know how to build a lot of stuff, model for 3D printing. And this is actually going back to optimizing my space and optimizing the color calibrator. So now I will remove some parts from my setup, for example old Philips color calibrator, and for now I will just put it on my shelf because I actually not use it at the moment. And my setup is quite clean and neat, and I want to keep it the same on a new spot. I really like this setup with the Darkroom Enlarger because I think at the moment you cannot buy it for this money, even new, and it's nothing on the market. You literally cannot buy anything lower than 3,000–4,000 euros, which is comparable for the quality of the stuff what you're getting with this used stuff. If you get it with a good condition, I think it's just brilliant what you get, and it works perfectly, and I think it will last even more 50 years. And yes, I put a little bit of damage in the base plates, but I don't think it's a huge problem because it's just a piece of wood and I think it's not really perfect and modern looking anyway, so I don't really care how it looks like, especially from the behind. So let's reassemble everything on my new table and put them together and put the heads back on the stand. And if you think about it, everybody trying to push the stand from the scanning solutions, which cost like 800–900 euros, and just guys, please stop doing this type of thing. And please just spend this money on the old Enlarger. Even if it doesn't work, you can easily fix it and lubricate and reassemble, and everything will look perfect. You will get amazing stand for your camera and Enlarger and a base and everything in one package, and it will be much cheaper than these strange attachments for your digital camera. And most of the time, people who develop this type of solutions for the digital camera and scanning, they have no idea what they're doing in terms of engineering, and most of the time, no idea what they're doing for the community. If it's cheap, okay, I can understand it, but if it costs like thousands of euros and it's not lasting at all, I don't understand why we should implement our time and money in such a junk. And this is one of the messages what I want to bring to the community and share to the universe. For example, in woodworking or any type of machining, nobody actually asks if the tool is expensive. Woodworking chisel or woodworking plane can be incredibly expensive, but in the same time, most of the good tools you can basically inherit it to your children and use it basically a lifetime without any problems and just maintain the quality of the tool or the time. And I want to reach exactly the same thing in a darkroom. So technology behind the manual plane in the woodworking also improved in the background. It's new steels, new quality, new precision, new screws, and everything is kind of on the modern standards of industrial age. But in the same time, this is really old tool and really old method of using the tool. And this is why I think the Enlarger should be just pure, simple, easy to use and modifiable with additional things like external computer, exposure calculator, and things like this, and it should be easy to send the comments to there, so it will make your Enlarger bulletproof for the ages up front. But for now, my darkroom looks really neat and really fine, and I want to start to print and just check if my new setup works. So let's put color calibrator back in the box. And I think this small tool actually gives me so much inspiration to move forward with the technology and create my own color calibrator, and teach me so much about the how color works, how the filters works, how the array 4 chemistry works, and the paper in general. And this is also, you can think about it and just say it's a good investment in anything if it allows you to go in depth of the process and understand it a little bit more and be more precise and just think how it works. And today I want to print my color film from 500T Codec Motion film with the array 4. I have a lot of amazing shots on this film. And before New Year, I was crazy focused on the photography, and I tried to push my boundaries and the vision and try to create a lot of amazing shots in the Copenhagen at night, close to New Year, and make my collection enriched with the night photos. And today's print is a really good example how much you can pull out from 500T at night if you expose it correctly with the proper lens, with the handheld shot. So on 1.2 aperture with a 1/30th of the second or even slower, you can pull out a lot of shots, and it's 500T, so I shot it and ISO 500. So you have a lot of details, and in the same time you're not really going in the borders of the handshake. And with a steady hand you can pull up a lot of sharpness and details, as you can see in my grain focuser. But what is interesting in this film, I think it's dynamic range, how much you can assemble from the highlights and the shadows in the same time. And even if you underexpose or overexpose your paper, you still have a lot of details and they still works and they still there. And I want to start with a 3 seconds interval on my test printer. On F11 with the settings 60-60-20, and move from there and see if I have any good results from the first test print. Now I'm setting my drum on this metal table, and as you can see it's not dropping down because sometimes I drop it on the floor in the darkness and I don't really like it to search it around in my room. And probably most of you don't really see, but I have a camera, I have a light in the same room, and it's not really easy to film everything in the same time then you develop. And I think the worst part is actually I cannot listen to music in a full volume, so I'm using headphones. So if you like the content what I'm producing, consider supporting me on YouTube or through the coffee in the link below or in the pop-up message. I still have around 50 to 100 milliliters of developer, and I think this will be last life of this developer bottle because it's already a little bit dark and I think it's almost dead. But I hope I will survive for this 3-4 developments what I need to do today. And as you can see now, I have more space for my phone, for the timer and for the leads, and I also have this microfiber cloth, then I can dry up things. And most importantly, everything now for some reason make less noise and it's a little bit more quiet in the room. So I collect the waste in these bottles, and usually I make 1 wash for the test prints and 2 washes for the final print. But I'm still struggling without distilled water. I also thinking at some point to just invest in a distiller at home, because for some reason I can buy distilled water in Denmark only in a 5-liter, actually quite heavy duty plastic canisters, and I think the whole canister costs more than water what is inside. So I don't really like it, and it became a little bit too expensive to handle it because I'm spending like 2 liters of water per 1 session. So if you have a 5-liter bottle and it costs around 4 euros here, which is unreasonably stupid. So for now I just stuck with the running water from my tap. So the first exposure looks good, and I will choose 15 seconds on F11, and I see my colors a little bit greenish, so I will pull up the magenta channel a little bit by 10 points. So you can call me cowboy, but yes, I probably know that it will be 10 points lower in the magenta channel. And it's multiple people ask me about my test printer. It's incredibly simple device and it's quite handy, and I think everybody just should have a version of this type of thing. I'm not sure why you cannot find it on eBay. I think it's not really common. But in the same time, literally if you need it, I already thinking to start to make the product from this, because I'm getting so many requests how to make it, where to find it, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, at the moment I don't really have access to the laser cutter, and I think it will be a really easy project to make a laser cuts and pre-cut it everything, but I just think it will cost too much with the delivery, and I think nobody wanna buy this type of tool for 50, 70 euros or something around this price. And as you can see, I guessed it right, and the print now looks fine. And if you look underneath the table there, you have an amazing amount of details in the shadows. Keep it in mind, it's complete darkness outside, almost no lights on the streets, and it's only light from the backlit scene there. And it's completely handheld shot without any tripod or anything fancy. So I make a full print with the settings of 60, 50, 20 with the F11 and 15 seconds of exposure, with the size of 20 by 30, with the margins, and I expect to be the perfect size and perfect match without any problems. I will start with the 1 minute of development. I will push it a little bit more because I know my developer is old, and I will run it for 1 minute 15 seconds. And as you can see by the color, it's completely dark now, and it's probably far gone beyond the reason why you should keep it in a bottle. But I still need to order new chemicals and spend quite hefty price for everything, because I need to order folders, I need to order sleeves for negatives, I need to order Better Safe, Array 4 chemistry, C41 chemistry, folders for the prints. And honestly, the list goes on, but everything is about this moment when you pull up your print from the drum and you see your photo in a full scale. But unfortunately I have a few defects, and this is the size of the margins what I have on the paper. So probably when I move everything, I just forget to readjust the easel or bump it or something, so I not double check it. But as you can see, I have all the details in the shadows, even in the corners. You can read the text there, and in the same time I have a full details in the highlights. And one thing what I can do now is adjust for the next sprints my easel. And now I'm already thinking that I need a search for the different solution for the printing easel. Because I have a background in flexible electronics, I know that the fixing of the substrate is quite handy stuff with a vacuum. And I'm thinking about the project to make a vacuum easel for a long period of time. I think it's not really for the viewers of my channel, but for fine art printers, especially in the black and white, where you need a lot of sharpness and precise flatness, this type of thing will be quite handy and everybody wanna try to use it. The trick, you don't need to use the holes to make a vacuum, you just need to use a ceramic board. It's not really cheap, but in the same time it's producing absolutely flat results, and most of the time you will never get the problems with the bubbles or unevenness of the print, especially for the larger surfaces of the print. That's it for today. Thank you for watching, and I see you next time.